All right, here we go. Back with the podcast. So we wind down basketball season. We'll have more of these. And Dave Koken is in. Adam, nice enough to join us as well. What's going on, fellas? What's going on, Dave?
I'm sweating a hockey game and doing this and getting set to tear into a college basketball coaches in general at some point.
Okay. Well, I'll set you up for that in a second. Adam, before I even bring you in, I just got to mention something real quick. And it's something we've been bitching about forever. And that is the Mountain West Conference and their TV availability. So we got a conference here that once again, just like about 5 years ago, is, getting real good results from KenPom. Now the net rankings, getting a lot of attention. I actually think their TV package between FS1 and CBS Sportsnet is pretty good because they got all these late night spots. You're seeing a lot of Mountain West Conference basketball on TV, but the problem is the games that fall into the gap, you can't fucking find.
Nope.
So like tonight, Colorado State's the lone game at New Mexico in the Mountain West Conference, and I want to bet the game beforehand. I don't get in before the game, so I'm like, let me just do some in-play. Well, because of this stupid Mountain West Network stream they have that is completely unreliable and not available anywhere, Dave, you can't bet in play. Then it's halftime. I can't bet the fucking game at the half. New Mexico's leading. I'm like, CSU is coming back to win the game. Like, if you're going to be taken seriously as a conference, you got to have more coverage. And Dave, a lot of the people on these weeknights are gamblers who's watching. And like, you got to be legit and have your TV up to snuff. Like, you're passing up on free publicity, you dumbasses.
Well, all I can say is this. I haven't been doing daily radio for it's a lot of years now. And I think it goes back 20 years where I basically have said the same thing. Craig Thompson's overmatched. And he still is.
I don't get it, man. And I love the Mountain West Conference tournament, and we're doing a big push on ESPN Las Vegas. So if anyone from the Mountain West sees this, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to help you. All right.
Well, they won't be able to see it because bad news for you. This is being streamed to the Mountain West.
There you go.
So you'll see it.
Hey, Dave, do me a favor. For some reason, your sound is like real muted and kind of buried. You want to jump back out and come back in, and let's see what that does, if anything.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
There you go. All right, Adam. What's going on? We'll get to the mandate and all that other stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to say, and somebody put it in the comments, but I think for one thing, your point's taken. But in terms of betting, there are definitely apps out there that have a lot more things available. So you shouldn't just limit yourself to one book.
Right. So what books in town would have had the in play up there?
I'd have to imagine Circa probably did, and
okay.
I think Westgate may have, but I think Circa is the more. I think there's things to like and not like about Circa.
Right.
I'd much prefer Westgate, but I think they do have a lot more things available.
So, John, welcome in. John Von Tobel. We got a full house tonight. John, I was just kind of ranting about the fact, and it was William Hill. And I like William Hill. It's nothing against William Hill. I was just talking about the Mountain West Conference and trying to bet games on nights where there is no traditional TV coverage and it's a stream. And like tonight, I tried to bet CSU in game, like 2 minutes in and at the half. And it's like, it's not there because I think some books are like, we can't trust that we can keep up with the freaking game on a TV stream.
Yeah. There's a lot of books who could kind of do that. I have some frustrations at times with MGM. MGM, a lot of the times, if you go to bet in game, will pull off a price that I'll look to play, and then all of a sudden it'll just sit there and pinwheel, and then maybe put it back up or never place it back up. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, these books, they're booking it, but they're also not obligated to do everything. So,
if you don't have a real stream, it's a responsibility of the conference. I'm not booking something that I can't watch.
Right. And by the way, along those lines, and I think we might have talked about this before, but it's a story I'm going to try to work on here in the off season, kind of an in-depth look at the future of sports betting and especially live betting. Like, it's going to be through your TV. All the corporations are going to, again, come together, and just like we see in network television, everybody owns everything. I was at Universal Studios last week in LA, and you don't even realize everything that Universal owns NBC and then a bunch of other things. And you're like, wait, that's all one company? That's nuts. But it's going to be like that in the TV world even more. And they're going to get into the betting space as well, and you're going to be doing it through your TV. The only holdup right now, and it's a thing that affects live betting as well, as all of us that live bet know, like you're betting a game that you're like a minute behind. And there was a really interesting graph that came out this week. I wish I could find. Maybe I can look for it and send it to you. But they actually tried to do this during the Super Bowl, of time it to real life tweets that were in the stadium, of people tweeting about things that happened, and then when it showed on the various cable, satellite, streaming services, how big the delay was.
Right.
And I was pretty stunned, because I've always thought, maybe cable is like 15 seconds, and then some of the streaming's like 25, 30 seconds. A lot of the streaming services are like a minute 20.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
On Super Bowl Sunday, we watched it on Hulu TV. I was at a buddy's house, and he has Hulu cable or whatever it's called.
Live sports on Hulu.
Yeah, live sports.
Yeah.
Hulu has live sports. Well, it's not that live, because it's like you said, it's like a 90-second delay.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there betting people. Like I got $20. I was like, hey, I'll bet you $20 Stafford throws an interception on this pass, because I was just checking Twitter. And we were like 90 seconds behind, and they were like, that's $20, sure, yeah. And they're like, wow, that was a great call, man. And we're just doing it the whole time, because Twitter's a good 2 or 3 minutes. You knew it was going to happen ahead of time.
Yeah, it's crazy.
A friend of mine who has DirecTV, and I've got the cable. And if we're texting back and forth during a game, I'll find out a goal is scored like a minute before I see it.
Yep.
It's crazy. And it's got to be rough for, and that makes it for the books. You just can't take chances putting stuff up if you can get burned on it.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
Therefore, the Mountain West is what it is.
All right, Dave. So fire away. What was your? You were talking more about what strategy with coaches and in games.
I mean, if you're up, this drives me nuts. If you're up 3 with a few seconds to play, foul the fucking guy. Just foul them. Do these idiots not know math? I'm watching Abilene Christian tonight. Happened with Fresno a couple weeks ago. Tonight, Abilene Christian's up 3, few seconds to play. Foul them.
Yep.
Okay? I don't care if they're shooting 20% from three-point land. That's still a better chance than you fouling them having to make the first free throw, miss the second one, get the rebound, and also get a basket. It's simple math. These coaches are idiots, absolute morons. And but this is what happens when you got 358 Division I teams. I'll say half these coaches aren't even close to qualified as being head coaches. They suck. They're assistants that are getting head coaches' money, and they don't have the slightest idea of what they're doing.
Dave, I'll say too, to add to that point, it's crazy in college basketball. I'm amazed that it still happens in the NBA. Like, that's supposed to be the highest level of basketball. You'd assume that means the highest level of basketball coaches too, and you still have teams that are letting the other professional athletes get off shots right when they're down 3.
I just don't understand. Do they not understand the math?
Yep.
There's no question about this on the math. It is clearly better to foul than to not foul.
It is, but I've talked to some coaches about this who, they're fighting just like they fight in football about the analytics and some of the math that goes into fourth down decisions and things like that, where there's a fear there about the ultimately negative. They're always looking at what's the worst case scenario, and in their mind, the worst case scenario is you foul, give up the first one, make the first, and then miss the third one, and you make a 3 to beat you. So you can lose in that situation. It's so ridiculously unlikely.
And if you have that mindset as a head coach, you probably shouldn't be a head coach.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're thinking, worst case scenario, you're never supposed to think that. You're supposed to think best case scenario. You're supposed to be positive.
Sure, but it's what leads to all the bad fourth down decisions in football too.
No
so they're looking at a scenario and going, I don't know. There's a 16% chance this could happen. We don't want to risk it.
Well,
Like that-
less. I mean, like a one in 130,000 chance that it could happen. But yeah, and but like I said, John, it goes to football too, where we see it all the time, where we know win probabilities, we understand all those things from the gambling world, and we understand why decisions are made why decisions should be the way they should.
How, after this amount of time, do these twats or twits or whichever?
I like twats.
I mean, the information's out there.
Of course,
Everybody's got it.
of course.
It still cracks me up when I watch baseball. How many of these announcers, at least the managers have mostly figured it out now, but how many of these announcers say, well, the bunt was a good idea there? No, it wasn't. It was a terrible idea. You're an idiot. Get out of the booth. Get someone in there who understands the game.
Well, it's the curse that is among humans. It's actually more rampant than COVID. It's results based thinking, Dave. Like that's
Sure.
what it is. It didn't work because the result wasn't what you wanted it to be, and it's the worst way to view things. And I see it all the time. Like I was talking to my buddy about this the other day, and he just couldn't really wrap his head around it. So I said something. I was like, it's like the coin flip thing, right? If I make you a bet and I say let's flip this heads, you get if it's tails, you get $3. If it's heads, I get $1. Right? And you're flipping the coin because you're going to get $3. But then, I get like 3 flips in a row and people are like, well, you're flipping the coin, Dave. Like, because I can win $3 compared to his one. Like, what are you talking? And people are just screaming at you for flipping the coin.
It's a great example. But again, it's thinking of the negative. When I actually talked to somebody, there's somebody I have a lot of debates with about fourth down decisions. And he kind of came to me like with an "I told you so" from the Super Bowl. And it was, do you remember when the Bengals went for it on fourth down in the first quarter?
Oh boy.
And he's like, that's where they lost the game. And I said, this is the most preposterous thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, you wouldn't even remember the play if they would have got it. But it's a results-based thing. They didn't get it. So and by the way, they took the lead after that. Like, that's not where they lost the game. And I said, what about the Rams going for it on fourth down with 5 minutes left? Like, there wasn't that much difference in that decision. The Rams, they're on their own 30 with 5 minutes left. If they don't get that, a lot of old school people are like, why are you going for it? Punt the ball and play defense. That's what they'd be saying if they didn't get it. But because they got it, we're just going to ignore that. It's silly.
I just don't understand why every coach, particularly in college, I think at most college campuses they have 1 or 2 math professors. Why don't you just talk to one of them at some point, and they can tell you what an idiot you are.
Put him in a suit. Put him in a suit and put him in one of the chairs on the sideline. Like,
Oh, really?
They'll be able to tell you.
They should be doing it.
Oh, hell yeah.
mean,
look, if I were, the first thing I would do, and I'm dead serious on this, not talking about this from a gambling standpoint. If I were a coach, the first thing I would do would be hire an analytics assistant.
Sure.
You're right there on the sidelines. I need you because I've got 9 million things going on, and I might not be able to focus on percentages. I need you right there to tell me what the right play is analytically, what the right decision is analytically, and we can go from there.
And by the way,
I'd go hire
anybody,
the best Madden player in the world.
Well, it's funny. That's literally where I was going with this. It's been joked about, but I think it's absolutely true that anybody that's played Madden has a better understanding of clock management than most NFL coaches. And I hear people laugh about it, and I'm like, no, it's true. And here's the thing, because people are like, that's Madden and this is the NFL. Like, I get it, but the NFL coach has 1,000 things to think about during a game. You should have somebody that just understands clock management and can tell you exactly what they're only thinking about the clock. They can tell you exactly what to do. And I think it would lead to, I'm going to say, a half win a year at least. And that is a massive swing in the grand scheme of things when you think about it. It might not sound like much, but it's a massive swing if you had just one person in your staff that could get you a half win a year based on understanding clock management. First, I mean, the Rams snapped the ball before the 2-minute warning on Sunday. Unreal. And as it turns out, it didn't matter. But what on earth were they doing? And I think Sean McVay is smart. But again, he's got 18 billion things to think about.
I think honestly, I think that was Stafford.
Okay. That's possible.
I mean, he's the one who boxed out the signals. He's got the clock right in front of him.
Yeah.
So,
I'm actually,
sometimes it's not the coach.
I've become very anti is not the right term for it, but there's a lot of support behind the theory that that McVay is actually kind of a moron.
Yeah, I mean
When
the runs on first down are
when it comes to game management, when it comes to all of these things, like his overall offensive scheme is really good, but like the execution, like I think it was Ben Baldwin who tweeted it out. He's one of the worst coaches in terms of timeout, like worst timeouts to call in terms of situations, like when he calls them, how often he burns them.
Didn't they? I mean, wasn't that one of the best props? Wasn't that like the 11th straight game they used the first time out of the game?
Yeah,
it was crazy.
And he's in the bottom 5 in terms of win probability lost and like decisions to kick. Like he's not really a great mind when it comes to game planning and decision making. I think you saw some of it too, by the way. You said it, like the first down runs in that Super Bowl were mind numbing. I could not get over what they were doing.
What was he doing?
It took him the entire game to figure out that we need to get the ball to Cooper Kupp in some fashion on every play. Okay, and then
my theory was, and I'll get your thoughts on this, guys. So my theory was, if you watch those first few drives, and this kind of goes to his inability at times to adjust, because we've seen that as well. I think the entire game plan was set up for Odell Beckham Jr. to have like a monster game.
It was.
I think that everything was set up for him, and then he goes down with a knee injury, and they're like, fuck. Okay, we got to scramble and figure something out here. And because I had an OBJ 25-1 ticket to win MVP, and I was feeling great after the quarter and a half, and then he goes down, and their offense goes in the tank because I think they had everything game planned at least through that vein, and it just completely fell apart after he went down.
I'll tell you one thing McVay didn't do, though. He didn't go to a shotgun when they needed the 1 yard at the end of the game. He got Stafford under center, whereas the Cincinnati coach, 3rd and 1, and you're in the shotgun. What are you doing? Why is this so difficult? The best quarterback in the history of the National Football League is one of the least athletic quarterbacks to ever play the game. I mean, Tom Brady has been a statue for a lot of years. And yet, hey, if it's 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, he's lined up on a center, not shotgun, and he gets the ball and they get the first down of the touch. I mean, you have to be under center in that situation. Why?
I would agree. The only thing I would say, and I don't know this for sure, but his knee was jacked, and I don't think they wanted him dropping back, and I don't think they definitely wanted him sneaking.
Well, he didn't. Fine, hand the ball off. You're 3 yards closer.
Yeah, but I mean, I just mean even
Aaron Donald's a great player.
Yeah.
But basically, he's the only guy who got a hand on the running back. If the running back's starting 3 yards closer, they get the first down.
That was such a good play. Like the move, the power to just grab him and essentially go no, and like pull him back to where he was. That was incredible. I wish I was that strong for like just one day to see what I would do with that strength.
Hey, I'd take 1 minute.
Right.
Yeah. By the way, the latency chart is up there. Steve put it up a while ago. And John, you said you're watching on Hulu. Obviously, the worst.
Yep.
The worst of the system.
YouTube TV is not that bad. Actually, one of the shortest outside of the NFL app, it seems. So I actually kind of like it. The cord cutting is it's only been a few days, but I kind of dig it.
The league apps are all, for instance, in the NHL tonight, according to the NHL app, Anaheim was ahead 1-0 before the game started. I've got the game on TV, and I happen to have the NHL app on. And it's like Anaheim 1, Edmonton 0. It's like they haven't started the game yet.
I don't know if you guys saw so last week that Celtics and Nets game. I was getting pissed because I was trying to check scores and I thought the app was broken because it said 28-2, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, can we fix this fucking app? What's going on? No, the Nets were down 28-2.
It happens. The Nets have not been great, John.
No, but they've also been pretty beat up.
Sure.
I'll stay out of the NBA conversation.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't extending that conversation.
I haven't watched the game all year. I haven't watched the game in like 3 years.
You're missing
Smart.
out.
You're the winner.
I've watched in the hundreds, I think. I don't know if I
Today.
Really
Today.
It's a sad thing to say. I've actually seen more curling than NBA.
Oh, dude, I'm so in on curling.
Curling's cool.
It's the best.
Adam loves it.
I think I've got to be seriously buzzed to watch curling.
Oh, it's great.
I honestly would think that one of the greatest athletic feats that I see on a like, I don't know, year to year, because I don't watch curling every year. It's that like squat lunge that they get into to let the shuttle go that they hold. There's no way I would be able to do that.
They have like a starting gate though.
I don't.
They have like a little thing you can push off of.
It's extremely impressive to hold that squat lunge like
All right.
that low for that long.
Is it better would it be better if I just mute the sound? Because the shrieking women,
Yeah, with the sweep. Yeah.
She's 5 feet away from you. Okay, you don't have to yell.
Oh,
No, you gotta no. Okay, I'll do my
There we
curling
go.
knowledge now. The tone of the voice is telling them how hard or soft to sweep too. Like there is a strategy to it.
Has there
Steve's
ever-
out. Steve,
It's a serious question because I've seen curling now in, I guess, 2 or 3 Olympics. Is there ever anybody there?
is there like watching it?
Yeah.
Well, there's not in this
Yeah.
one
Well, no,
because there's no fans.
it wasn't in the last one either. That I can.
Oh yeah, they were into it last one.
Okay, I missed it then.
It's very exciting. Now listen, it's too long.
Very exciting.
The games are too long. It's crazy how long they are. Like the some of the good curler with the mullet, or one of the U.S. guys has a pretty good mullet on Hamilton. But I think they could shorten it possibly. It'd be a little bit more spectator friendly. Like the matches they can be close to 3 hours.
So
That's a lot.
I know that since you're a college basketball guy, I'm sure you know this. But for those who don't, Ken Palm's site, like you know about this, right? Like if you go to kenpalm.com, there's a little curling icon in the top left corner.
Oh yeah.
It's a full breakdown, power rating wise, like analytically, of like the men's and women's top 100 curlers.
I did not know that.
Yeah, dude, it's incredible.
Seriously,
Like you
I've
can-
been Ken Palm for like forever.
Yeah.
And I never knew that.
go to the homepage, and you'll see at the top there's a little curler, or what are those, the stones or whatever?
Yeah.
There's just like a little curling stone in the top left corner, Dave. Just click on it. It'll take you to doubletakeout.com, and it's a full analytical breakdown of like the top 100 men and women's curlers.
The U.S. women, their final pool play game just completely choked. It was embarrassing for the country. It really was.
Wow,
Like
don't bring them home.
It was one of the most humiliating things I've ever watched. I wanted to denounce my citizenship right then. They were up 2, so an end is essentially an inning. You play 10 ends, 10 innings. And they were up 2 in the 9th. And they're like they went for a Hail Mary basically when you're up 2, like don't do that. Just take the tie, move on. And they didn't. They went for like a Hail Mary. They totally choked, gave up a 4, and they were down 2. It was just it was humiliating on every level.
That's very depressing.
It was.
Can't believe it. I can't believe my ears. I guess I was told the other day that they tried to release to get people into curling, like a Women of Curling calendar.
They did. Yeah.
This is true. Yeah.
Is it good?
I didn't see it. I just know that it's
Listen,
out there.
They're not the worst.
Well, they gotta have good arms. The fucking sweeping is incredible.
Well, like I said, I would think that your bottom, like they got to be a lot of power
That
down
too,
there.
yeah, a lot of power sequences.
And you're probably never going to have to worry about a dirty kitchen floor.
That is classic Dave Koken humor. I love that. That's a good one-liner. I want to talk some hockey.
Just the other problem with that is that your peak in curling is a little late.
Is it?
Yeah. So some of them are pretty old.
Do you think that's going to matter to me?
It'd be better for you, but probably bad for the calendar sales. I think the Italian skip is I think 47.
Nice.
So what's wrong with that?
No, it's good
Exactly.
for Steve.
She's a kid to me.
Good. I was going to say it's good for Dave too. You think Dave's anti-40s?
That's almost jailbait for me. You kidding me?
Alex said the NHL app has been awful this season. Is that right?
I would agree. Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I don't use it very often because I've got the TV set up so I can watch whatever I want. But they make a lot of mistakes.
Adam, what was this thing earlier from Brady that they're not handing out notification about the lineup or something?
I don't know. I mean, I was at the game last night and they did it, so I'm not
Trying to find
sure.
where he said thoughts on the NHL mandate to not hand out lines, roster sheets before games to journalists. Unsure if it was covered on radio today, as I'm not caught up. It wasn't covered on Cofield and Company, but
Aren't they supposed to be providing that information to whoever's their gambling partner is?
Yeah. And I think that might be what they're doing. Maybe they're only giving it to them.
Sounds like what they're doing. Yeah.
But I think I don't know. Like I said, I was there last night and we got them, so I'm not sure. Maybe it started today. I didn't see anything. I'll be there tomorrow, so I'll know.
So wait, so educate me on this really quickly. So they will give the starting lineups to their gambling affiliate before they release it to the masses. Is that?
Well, that's just a guess. I don't know.
I was gonna say that seems somewhat, I mean, not illegal, but underhanded.
Sure, integrity.
Like, right, you want to like we want to talk about integrity. Like, oh, bookmaker, here you go. Here's the information first, so you can adjust your lines, and then we'll release it to the public. Like,
well, as you pointed out earlier, like the problem with and we talk about this all the time, but the problem with the leagues being involved is you have cases like that egregious call at the end of was it the Charlotte game with the 3?
Oh, the 3, yeah. For those who didn't see it, Kyle Lowry in overtime clearly hits a 2-point shot. It was a long mid-range shot, and the ref's like, nah, we're not going to review it. And they ruled it as a 3, even though it was clearly a 2. Goes to double overtime, and the Heat go on to win the game. Like, Charlotte probably should have won that game by 1. And yet here you have the NBA, like co-partners, FanDuel, DraftKings, sports betting. And yet
again,
you can't even go back
but we have no idea what they needed in that game. We don't know what they needed or what would have helped them in terms of parlays or that sort of thing. But if you're involved, you can't have those things happen.
Right.
Because then the questions start. And the perception is sometimes even worse than reality.
By the way, that's the second time that's happened this year, too. There was a Spurs game in which there was a 3 that was ruled a 2. Right. And those things, these numbers, surprisingly, are tight, even in the regular season. Right. A point will make the biggest difference in the world in a lot of these results. And especially it's just the visuals of it, like you said. Right. Like even if it's FanDuel and DraftKings probably have different liabilities, different thing, all this stuff, right? Different needs on a game. But it's just the aspect of the NBA has partnerships with these sports books. It is up to you to go back and review those things to make sure that everything is accurate. It's like those college basketball games were all right a couple of years ago, where there was a couple of those games where there was last minute shots and the refs were just like, nah, let's get out of here. No, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Those things matter. You got to go back and find out what happened.
You saw the comment from the ref, right? Where he was just like, we had no doubt in our mind, so we didn't have to review it. Like, well, you should have had doubt. It was not even close, so you're wrong. But John, it goes back to and I still couldn't find if there was actually bettings on it, so I don't want to go too crazy. But just in case for the future, like, did you see that the NHL breakaway challenge thing?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God! Yeah.
So the NHL,
I did see it.
Yeah, so Dave, you saw it. Like the NHL had a breakaway challenge, which is essentially the slam dunk contest for hockey.
And it was predetermined.
Yeah, you get to do a breakaway and score however you want. And one of the guys actually did, because it was Vegas, he did like a hangover theme thing where he dressed like Zach Galifianakis with a baby, went blindfolded and scored. It was incredible. It was an awesome goal. And then John Hamm is one of the judges, the actor, and Alex Petrangelo for Vegas comes up there. He misses. Like he doesn't even do a good shot, and John Hamm gives him like a 200 because he's a Blues fan and he's like, oh, he helped us win the cup, so I'm just going to give it to him. Okay, that's fine and fun and everything, but if there's betting on this, you can't do that shit.
2 years ago, Derek Jones Jr. when he wins the slam dunk contest, the reason he won it, Dwayne Wade was a judge, and because he was a member of the Miami Heat, Dwayne Wade kept giving him 10s.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
not at the table, Carlos.
Can only score from 1 to 10, and here's 19. And they get it.
Yeah. And they're like, okay, he wins.
If you thought vaudeville was dead, apparently it's back with the NHL. I mean, that was probably the worst thing. It wasn't funny. Aside from the goal by the kid from Anaheim, it wasn't entertaining. It was just, it sucked. Okay, the thing at the Bellagio was taped the night before, so there was nobody there to see that.
Yeah.
There was no fans there for the 21 challenge. Sometimes you overthink stuff. Here's an idea: do this speed skating, the target shooting, which is pretty. That's a lot of fun. Hardest shot, and then have an old timers game. Bring the legends out to play a period of hockey. The fans will love it, and stop with the nonsense. The breakaway challenge. Whoever thought of that is an asshole. Okay.
I'm going to ask around. I want to ask around the room on rules. Can you review goaltending in college basketball?
Yes.
Apparently, yes.
Yes, you can.
Von Tobel?
I didn't think you could.
Okay. Dave, what's the rule though?
I don't know what the rule is, but I've seen it reviewed.
Okay. Adam, do you know the actual rule? Because there is some specificity to it.
Right.
Well, it's like I think it's if it's called, you can review it, but if it's not called, you can't. I thought was the rule.
I believe it's only in the final 2 minutes of the game.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that are different in the final 2 minutes. So, yeah.
Right.
We do know
Yeah.
that the rules committees in college basketball have told us now, with all certain, with no question about it, the first 38 minutes of the college basketball game
Don't matter. They don't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, is that not effing ridiculous? So last night, I'm there at the Fresno UNLV game. They call goaltending on UNLV. They go review it. They overturn it. They don't really give an explanation to the 600 fans who are at Fresno. I talked to Kevin Kruger afterwards. He was like all discombobulated, like about the rule and what it was, and they benefited from it. And the funny thing is, and I didn't put the video up, but the funny thing is, I noticed the first guy after the goaltend to ask them to review it was Bryce Hamilton, who started doing this. Call for the review. Like, I don't know if they would have done it had Bryce not said, go do it.
Well, I mean, in the end, I think you're right. It needs to be clear exactly what the rules are and everything like that. But it was such an obvious call.
Well,
It was.
by the way, can we
Yeah.
add one thing? While these reviews are going on, since they're providing, the players have to stay on the court. The coaches have to stay on the sidelines.
You don't like the timeout?
No, it's ridiculous. They're reviewing everything, and teams without timeouts are getting free timeouts.
No.
And you know what? That absolutely did help UNLV because they had to set up an inbounds. So Adam on TV, because it's funny. I was standing right underneath the basket when it happened, and I was videoing it, and I rolled my own video back, but the pad on the side of the backboard was in my way. But it did appear that, like, right out of his hand, it got slapped off the glass. But
Yeah.
that was the argument. Did it hit the glass, get slapped, or right before it got up there, it got slapped off the glass? It was obvious on TV?
It was a very clear block, and it was not goaltending, and that's why. So I didn't have sound, so we're all hamstrung in some way. I was at the Golden Knights game watching it. UNLV got possession off the block, I think is what the call
They
was.
did. They got the
It
rebound.
didn't matter. So there was it was like in football when there's a clear recovery. The UNLV had the ball. But I think watching it, I didn't know they had called goaltend on the floor, and I was like, what are they reviewing? This is not a foul, and it's not goaltending. What are they possibly looking at right now? So the fact that they called it on the floor makes sense now. But yeah, it was not goaltending. I don't think there was any question about it, and they get it right in the end, which is good, I think, for everybody. But you do have to know the rules and have an understanding of when you can and can't.
I like Kevin a lot, Coach Kruger, but I'm kind of afraid to ask him tomorrow if he looked at it. So if he knows the rule now. I think what happened too was there was so much going on in the final minutes. Like I'm amazed, and Adam covers a lot of beats. I'm actually amazed that coaches can remember as much as they do in detail after a game. Like I'm not saying we're anything special, but having access to coaches after games is something fans don't see. I am blown away by the recall, especially of football coaches. Like, how the hell do you remember what you ran and what happened on that play in the second quarter?
I'll give you talk to a real ardent golfer, pro golfer, or somebody who's serious about it. You played the fifth hole at Spanish Trail 14 years ago. They can give you a breakdown of every shot.
Yeah. Did you ever see the video of McVay? They were asking him about plays when he was an offensive coordinator for Washington. And he's like,
how long ago? How long after? 5 years?
Yeah, like 5
4
years. And they're like, all right, you were playing the Bucks. You guys went down, and he's like, oh yeah, I was actually calling a play for Kirk. We're supposed to go like left post out down deep, and he's just like he rattles it off like perfectly. And then they read from a card. And he's like, yep, it's just word for word, and it's like 5 years. It's like a random play in the second quarter of like a Week 7 game, and he's just like, yep, I remember.
The crazy part is, as amazing as the coaches are at it, which is true. I mean, being in NFL locker rooms, you get that same sense. Like the players, for the most part, are like the exact opposite. You'll be like, hey, there was the 3rd and 3 play with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and blah blah blah, and they'll be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like they just play, like that's it.
On you guys mocking on the 2-minute rule for goaltending, the other 38 minutes don't matter. Would you would you at least take block charge in the final 2 minutes? Because Jake brings up an interesting question here. It makes no sense that you can review everything besides actual fouls in college hoops in the last 2 minutes. Would you like to see block charge be, reviewed in the final 2 minutes of the game?
You think they'd get it right after reviewing it?
Right.
Well, that's the question.
They're not gonna
Is
change
would,
the
would,
calls.
would they admit that they fucked it up?
Nope.
I don't think they would. Look, we saw NFL officials refuse to admit that they got pass interference calls wrong when they were reviewing them.
And that was the league wanted it, and they're like,
Yep.
That was the most egregious of all. I mean, that Saints
Yep.
thing a few years ago. I mean, it's unbelievable. I still can't believe that.
Nickel Roby Coleman. I think. Well, first of all, the problem is yes. Even after review, it's tough. Block charge is tough, even on slow mo. Even watching, it's a tough call. You have to have guys. You have to have guys that aren't involved, though. You have to say somebody's going to review that's not involved in the game.
Yeah, eye in the sky. It would also, it would slow down games. Like college basketball games already grind to a halt in those last
I don't know.
couple of minutes.
I don't know if it would.
Last 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's the last 2 minutes still grind. Those things are they're so overcoached. There's so many timeouts. It's so ridiculous at times. And then if you stop for everything like that,
I don't know. Put in a challenge system and you lose a timeout.
yep.
That would be awesome.
You lose all your timeouts. How's that?
Well, my idea.
You forfeit the next game.
If you want the difference between why I like hockey so much better than basketball, it's the end of the game. You get one timeout in the NHL. Period. You get one. The last 5 minutes of an NHL game maybe take 8 minutes to play total. Last 2 minutes of a college basketball game takes 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrible. It's bad
Adam,
for the fans. It's bad for the viewers.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, it's just bad, period. There's nothing about it that's positive. And then now they're reviewing stuff that doesn't even need to be reviewed. I don't even remember which game. I was watching a game tonight, and guy clearly got a 3-point basket. He clearly got it off before the shot clock expired. It was like a full second.
Yeah.
They went
go back and look.
anyway. I mean,
Well, the other problem with the basketball reviews, which has to be fixed, it has to, because for 100 years of basketball, whatever we've had, or at least as long as I've been watching,
As long as the
referees
were hung.
yes, but referees have ignored fouls and just given teams the ball out of bounds, right? So a guy drives to the rim, he's fouled, but it goes out of bounds, and they're like, all right, we're not going to call the foul, but it's your ball out of bounds. That's fine. And then they go to the review and like, well, you're the last one to touch it, so it's the other team's ball. Well, you only gave them the ball instead of a foul because you were just like, well, let's just call that a wash, give you the ball, and we'll call it even. But then you review it and you're like, well, clearly it's supposed to be the other team's ball, so it goes that way. Like that has to be fixed. You have to be able to go to the replay and be like, okay, yes, it was off this team, but it was a foul. Like you have to be able to do that.
There's things about that game that really confuse me. Why, after all this time, have they not gone to the N1 in college basketball?
With the
continuation
call? Yeah.
That's the worst. I hate watching college basketball. The worst thing to watch ever is just the ref going pointing at the floor. Like it's so fucking dumb.
Cut it out. It's a good play. It should be basket and a foul.
I enjoy how much we all hate sports, and yet it's all I do.
Well, but like Dave's got a point. I was watching like a Big Ten game the other day. The guy literally he collects the ball to drive to the basket and gets fouled, and the ref's like, "No, it's on the floor." And it's like, no, he's going to score.
Adam, did you want to throw out your suggestion again about block charge? The way to fix it is there is no charge.
Yeah, outlaw the charge. No such thing. No such thing. It like, first of all, enough with the just standing there and falling backwards and hoping you get it. Like that's stupid. Now it's not automatically a block. Sometimes contact is just going to be contact, and you're just going to play through it. But no more charges. Like just don't call charges anymore. Now, I think you have to have some sort of like player control exception. Like you can't just run down the floor, like throw a guy down and then like lay it in. But if there's like natural contact of like a shooter going to the rim, then I don't think there should be charges. I think you should outlaw them. And I think it would help a lot.
I was going to say, if there's no charges right now, I'll make Purdue like a -500 favorite with Williams at 280 and Zach Edey at like 7'4", 400, who just fucking annihilates people. and he either gets a charge, or he's getting some kind of foul on him. But if there were no charges, holy shit.
Or just flip a coin, because that's about what it amounts to.
That's what it is, and that's why I say all the time, it's not. To me, it's not a 50-50 call. It's a freaking block 90% of the time.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
Well,
and then the other day, John, we were talking about the head throw, which is the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
You know, if they're going to use the flopping foul, then start calling it.
It's also, I would say it's not 50-50. It's just, what is the momentum like in the game? Because then you'll kind of understand where the ref is going to go. Because the ref wants to, every time. You know what I mean? Or just, it's so ridiculous.
I think head throws. I think the head throw is my least favorite thing in sports. And I have a lot that I complain about in sports. It's one of my least favorite things. And they call it all the time.
You're starting to see it in the NFL. You're starting to see when guys are going downfield, like receivers are just doing this, like they're trying to draw pass interference. It's crazy, man.
And the shooter,
they don't call it.
The shooter leaning in for contact. That comment, it's ridiculous. But I think I don't watch enough NBA. I know, John, you watch all the time. They are getting better at it, right? They're not just automatically calling it anymore.
I would say that this year is super refreshing. The way that the NBA has been calling games, like it's a little bit more physical. They're allowing things to go. They're not doing that anymore. At the beginning of the year was great because you used to see all the time where guys would like get it in the open court and then like stop dribbling, so a dude would just like run over from behind and they get the call. Yes. Like they were calling those offensive fouls now. Now they're like, awesome. Nah, like that's going awesome. The other way. So no, they've done a much better job, I think.
I think
the James Harden rule.
Yeah, I think the jumping in thing to on the shooter jumping into the defender. I think college basketball, at least the college basketball I've watched up close, I think it cleaned it up 99%. I don't see it ever. Like guys don't try it because they're like, well, it's not going to work. They don't do the leg kick out. None of it.
Well, I don't know. You guys watch, like I like to watch college hoops, but I'm sure you watch more than I do. It's like Jay Billis had an article today. He was actually talking about the fact that foul calls were down and that it was like a blight on college basketball, and that officiating was like. Let me pull it up really quickly. I can read it to you guys really quick.
I don't know, man. To me, again, not to beat the dead horse, but the blight is the offensive fouls and I got to go back and watch all of them. But when you see big guys get, Orlando Robinson just taken out of multiple games this year. Oh, that affected the game, the UNLV game, big time. Early in the game, you get an idea what the refs are going to do to the big guys. Like they're going to let them play, or it's going to be small man, most of the game.
All right, I got this.
It was him multiple times this year where it's been 50-50 calls. They call an offensive foul on him, and he's sitting on the bench. And he's obviously rather important to that team.
All right, here's what Bill has had to say. So college basketball's officiating problem is getting worse. Several years ago, the administrators of the game made great strides to reduce overt physicality and allow offenses to have freedom of movement without being fouled. But some 5 years ago, scoring had reached an all-time low, and games were suffering as a result. A lot of work was done to ameliorate the problem. I'm terrible at reading that word. To have the games called by the rules as written. As a result of the work done in that area, the game got significantly better. Well, all those gains have been given back, and we now have hockey games in major conferences, not basketball games. It is, in a word, depressing. This season, freedom of movement does not exist, and the college game more closely resembles the NBA of the 1990s. Turn on any major conference game, you will see arm bars and ball handlers, not in the post, hand checking, bumping, and chucking of cutters, illegally riding cutters and screeners off of their paths, and overt physicality in the post area, including a lack of enforcement of verticality on shooters. Whatever you see on the floor in major conferences this season is not basketball. It would not be allowed in the NBA or FIBA. The most damning data point, fouls called are at an all-time low this season. Given how ridiculously physical this game has become, that is impossible.
Dave, what do you see? Do you think there's too few I can't say it, fouls called right now?
I think there's too many called on the teams I bet and too few called on the teams I bet against. I mean, it's not just, I don't know. I
think there's still too many calls. I think they affect the game way too much. Settle it on the floor. It can get physical. It's not a big deal.
I just want to see consistency.
Yeah.
Which there is none.
Right. That's the problem. Is the players don't know how a game is going to be called from basically every 15 minutes a game could change. And that ain't right. All right, Dave, I wanted to talk about the Super Bowl handle in Nevada. Were you surprised that it crushed the record, got to $180 million?
No, I think they'll just keep breaking records every year because the ads are on 24/7. I mean, the enticement for people to bet, and of course they never show people losing. HBO does that in their segments. They show only people losing, and make them the stars of the segment. People who are completely out of control. But the commercials show everybody winning. You know, you get the guy in the barber chair. We hit it. I hit it. And you know, and people get influenced by this. So no, it's going to keep going up. The best tweet I saw, by the way, was somebody who was commenting on the Massachusetts betting handle, which was zero, because all their residents went to other states to bet, which also isn't true because they have these things called bookies that still exist in the Boston area.
It was Sammy P.
Yeah, Sam Panayotovich.
That's a great tweet, though. I love
Yep.
it.
Yep.
No, it's wait till it's here.
Oh, that
Well,
yeah.
I was talking about this the other day, Dave. Like the amount of sports betting that was prevalent at Radio Row was insane, especially compared to how you couldn't even discuss it a couple of years ago. It was out of control this year. And next year, I know Vegas is 2 years, but next year is the first time it'll be in a state with legalized betting.
Yep.
It's in Arizona next year, and it is going to be nuts, just absolutely nuts. And I will say, I know I was talking to a former bookmaker who's now on the media side of things, was doing all kinds of interviews all around Radio Row. And he said he wants to open a book at Radio Row because the least sharp people he's ever heard are all the media people. And he said every single interview he did, the host would be like, I mean, Cam Akers over. That's a guarantee. That's a lock. And he's like, all right, I'm going to bet the under. Yeah. And he certainly went under.
Todd Furman.
No. What was it?
Was it Dave?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Mr. Sharapan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave's fantastic. I'm glad to see he's doing really well. That's a guy you should listen to.
Yeah.
He knows what's happening on both sides of the window. Okay,
Sure.
He's a sharp analyst, and obviously he knows the bookmaking end. He's one of the best in the business. And you can follow him at Sportsbook Consigliere.
It's like Sports BK Consig or something ridiculous. Yeah.
But
Easy to remember. Catchy.
He's terrific.
Adam and John, you guys talk to bookmakers a lot. I don't even know if you asked this question, but I'm kind of curious. I wonder why Nevada had a better hold than New Jersey. I wonder what went down between the two states. I think the hold in Nevada was 8.6%.
Yeah,
I think the hold in New Jersey was only 5.4%.
I have a guess.
Which it's been the opposite. Well, my guess would be that they took more of the seven-figure bets and they kicked ass on that, so that helped the handle versus New Jersey.
My guess was going to be all the promos. Like they were giving out bet $1 on the Rams and win $250. I think one of the things they had was was Matt Stafford over under a half completion at like 200-1 or something.
Excuse me, I'm applauding. I'm not applauding that. I was applauding a Vancouver goal.
Yeah, and also, I mean, and you guys know it was the result the bookmakers wanted, right? Favorite win, but doesn't cover, and that also
was
helps.
The result I wanted.
Yep.
That was a dream Super Bowl for me. I couldn't figure out who was going to win the game. I just knew it. I was very, very confident it was going to be really close, a one-possession game, either way. So I went for Rams money line and Bengals plus the 4.5,
Yep.
and couldn't have ended better. So I was happy.
But John, you get my point. I mean, obviously both states got their dream result, but there was a massive difference in the win percentage from Jersey. Like that 3.2% difference win is based on mostly on giveaway promotions on the Jersey side. You think there's that many giveaways?
I think so. That could totally be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would question because like some spots, this has always been my question, which is, for some of those promotions, you get paid back in like DK credit or whatever it is.
Right.
Does that actually?
You're still gonna bet.
No, right. No, but my question is does that calculate into the hold? Like if you're just paying them back in DK credit as opposed, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's still money in their account, so it would be part of it. But and again, just for those that are kind of new to it or trying to figure it out, like a lot of what these books are doing in these other states is still just about customer acquisition. Like getting customers to get accounts is really all they care about at this point. And then, in the future, it's having this massive database and having all these customers. And then even if even if they have nothing in their account, you just want them to have an account, and then you throw some money in their account, they bet it, they get the fever, and then they want to, it's the oldest sales tactic in the book, right? The first sample's free.
Well, it's the smartest sample.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
I mean, your whole goal is to get eyes and ears.
Yeah.
And after that, you're all set. This is why it's important if you're in any business, when you want to hire somebody who knows SEO, if you don't yourself, so that you can move up the charts in the Google searches. Because that's where the money is, getting noticed. And that's what these promos do. And, I'm not going to mention any book specifically out of state. But one, I think it's a shit sports book. But they're great on their promos. They're absolutely great at their promos. And I'm sure they're doing very well.
Yeah. And again, like it's not even just for sports betting, right? Like they're basically a tech company that's just trying to get a database of customers. And then they have sports betting, they have fantasy sports, daily fantasy, and everything across all these platforms. And you have these accounts, and you're getting people to play with you.
So let me ask you a question, because that's good stuff. So I won't mention who was doing it earlier, but I'm watching a Twitter space, not watching, but listening to a Twitter space with someone who covers the sports gambling world who's sharp, and they're talking about Circa being great and Westgate, but they need to offer more promos. And as I'm listening, I'm like, why they're kind of in a different business than DraftKings and FanDuel. Why don't you explain that? And it was never explained.
Well, the first explanation is it's brick and mortar.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
that's
But my bigger point is, like, I think we need to cover this both from the player side. Like, yes, I would love to see the Westgate offer all the same customer acquisition deals that they offer in Colorado, right? And I would love to see, other books in town do the same thing they do out of state. It's in a lot of ways, it's a different business.
Yeah, very much so.
Mhm.
It's very much a different business. Yeah, and like you said, yeah, Westgate does it in other jurisdictions. They definitely do it in Arizona. They definitely do it in Colorado. They don't do it here. It is a different business model, and Circa's business is mostly here. So it's different in that regard. It also is, man, it's weird. There's so many aspects of the gambling space and the gambling media, of which John is obviously a huge part of, that are confusing and complicated. And I think down the road, like, people are going to learn, like, oh, these are going to go away, and I'm actually just going to have to bet every day, and just decide what I'm going to bet on and win or lose. Like, that's going to be weird for a lot of these people. I don't know. I think it's a learning process that people are going to have, and not only with bettors, with media or people that think they're gambling media or experts, and they don't have any idea what they're talking about.
Yeah. Last two stories, guys. Sports Talk Radio stories. John, did you see Matt Stafford watch a photographer fall off the stage,
Yes.
turn his head, and basically say, "I don't give a shit"?
That's not what he said.
Yes, I did see that. And my obvious thing was, how drunk was he at that point?
Extraordinarily.
Right. I mean, what I didn't get, clearly, I hope the woman is okay, and it's great that she's getting her bill.
Spine.
Well,
Yeah,
right.
fractured
I hope
spine.
she's
No!
going to be okay.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Well, you didn't see the story that Stafford and his wife, they're going to cover the costs of
Well,
her
I did see
medical
that
bill.
part. I didn't
Yeah.
know the injury was that serious.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I mean,
Dude, it's a long fall.
oh, it is.
It
Like,
looked
I
like
saw
it
the
said Pete.
stage. But my question is, do you really want hammered Matt Stafford to jump off of that stage? Like,
Well,
I just
right.
didn't really understand. So I guess what he was supposed to do was just stare longingly at her and just go, "Are you okay?" And then he
Well,
would have been fine.
I think
and not
yes,
Stewart.
yeah. I think what a lot of people wanted is how Kelly reacted, which, as much heat as Kelly has taken over the years, like, she actually did show concern. But I think to the point of Matt Stafford, and I actually heard somebody else talking about this today, which really made me laugh. Of Matt Stafford is kind of like Brady, in that Brady never drinks ever. So when he had like 2 beers last year, he was so out of his element, so out of his mind, he didn't know what was going on. I think Stafford's the same. I mean, I think Stafford is a guy that's just like all in on football and training and everything else. And he had like a couple drinks yesterday and had no idea where he was. And when he sees this lady fall, I think his immediate thought is, did I put? Oh shit! Did I push her? Like, what the hell just happened? Like, he's just freaking out. And obviously, the fact that the camera is right on him is terrible for him. But I don't know. Like, obviously, people want him to just show concern. Like, that's it. But I also think in that moment, you're like, what the hell just happened? And like, I don't blame him that much.
His reaction actually reminded me, and I think we've all had that reaction. Like, if you're out partying and everybody's having drinks, and that one guy gets a little too loose and falls off of a wall or breaks a table or does something, what's the first thing you do? You're like, oh, and you just turn around and you walk away because you're like, I'm not part of this. And that his reaction is a reaction that I've had when somebody like just gets drunk and just yaks on somebody's lap, or like and I'm just like, oh, and I just walk away because I'm like, I'm not part of this. Like, and we've all done it.
I'd like to be noble and say that I wouldn't do that, but
Yep.
Listen, it's as simple as this. If you turn back the clock far enough where I was out every night, and I mean every night, I would be in places where shit happened. And on a fairly frequent basis because people had too much to drink. And the last thing I was going to do was get involved in any way. I just like, okay, I think I'll go over here.
Yep.
We'll leave.
You know, it's funny, Dave.
Sorry.
Dave, you're hilarious because we were doing the show on the air, and our buddy Ari, who is super judgmental, and just every human being is just a scumbag. So he loved this story. He tried to get on Stafford, and Willie and I just annihilated him. But one of the first guys I thought of was you, Dave, and I'm like, I don't think Dave would do anything.
No, I had done exactly what Stafford did.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you want to call me an ass for that.
Yeah.
That's fine. But I'm talking sober.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? I'm not, again.
I will say this, and this just shows you. I guess it makes me a prick, but if it was a dog that fell off the stage, then I would get involved and help.
Dave goes head first to get the dog.
If it was a cat, there'd be no problem.
If it was a cat,
the cat would have landed on his feet anyway.
Yeah, we don't have a problem.
That is a good point. The cat would. The cat could
also
land on his feet or bounce and get right up.
There's a chance that Stafford is so drunk too that if he goes to show concern, he makes it worse and falls on top of it. Like,
exactly.
Well, if a drop, how's he supposed to get down there?
Right.
Jump with his bad ankle.
Oh, I'm sure the Rams would have loved that.
Yeah.
I think what people want is just for him to like look down and be like, "Oh, is she all right?" Like, I think that's what people want.
What people want is to just get on him because they swear to God that they would have like such a better reaction.
Yep.
They would have Spider-Man that woman and just like shot webs at her and caught her before she fell down. Like, no.
They're lying, and most of them are lying.
Oh, I don't believe it! You son of a bitch!
Canucks
get watching the video again, Dave. You watching?
They scored with 7 seconds to go. It's
no.
What a nightmare. Well, good. I'm glad we. I think Adam would help. I don't know about John. I knew Dave's answer.
Well, I just don't know what you would want me to do.
50 on it.
Yeah, like I just don't know what you would want me to do in that situation. Yeah. Like, I don't think I would help. I would look over and say, "Are you okay?" Like, I just don't know. On a 10-foot drop, and I'm up on top of the stage because I didn't fall off. Like, what am I supposed to do?
And I think there is that moment of like, obviously she was taking photos of him, and he has that thought of like, "Oh God, did I cause this?" I think there was part of him that was thinking that too.
Right.
He's like, "I got to get out of here."
She said her cameras both broke. Do you think? But that wouldn't mean that the shot. If she took a picture of the fall, do you think the shot still exists?
Yeah, it should.
I'd love to see that picture.
It'd probably sell for more than her medical bills will be.
Right. Stafford looking at her and kind of smiling and going, "Fuck it."
Yeah.
It's actually a picture of Stafford like this because he did push her. You know what I mean?
Oh boy, not nice. All right, last one. Adam, explain to the audience what's going on with Stephon Diggs here. He had a special Valentine's Day apparently.
I love this, John. Did you see this?
I thought we were going to talk about Patrick Mahomes and his lady at the sidelines of the Texas Tech. Go ahead.
Him tweeting about Kelly's tweet. That was great.
Wait, what was
I didn't see that.
I haven't gotten into this yet. So what happened?
So Kelly in Vegas started this yesterday. They were showing Patrick Mahomes at the Texas Tech game, at the basketball game, and him and Brittany seemed to get in some sort of, tiff on the sideline where he had his arm around her and he took it. He said, you can't really tell exactly what he says, but he says something to the effect of, "All right, we'll see then," or something along those lines. And Kelly was watching the game and she tweeted out the clip of it and basically was like, "We need to save Patrick," or something like that. and it blew up on the internet last night. And then after the game, Mahomes said, "Do you have the tweet, John?" I didn't have it in front of me.
What Mahomes said was, "Some people are weird, love you, babe," and then he tagged his girl.
Yeah, some people are weird.
The video itself, though, I thought this was pretty good because if you watch the video, there was somebody in the comments that put up a lip reading of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how accurate this was, but I will say I think he dead on nailed one of the things that she said, because there's a point where she looks away from him and makes like some weird face like this, like, you know what I mean? And the person surmised that she told the people sitting next to them, Patrick said, "Give it up with the resting bitch face." And if you read it, it's perfect. Like, it syncs up perfectly with what she says with her lips, and then coincides with the weird face that she makes. Like, I don't know, man, but they're definitely a weird couple. I'll say that.
I'm going to take a shot. What's the over and under on that thing lasting 10 years? Or the will go, won't go? Give me
what are you taking?
Oh, won't go. No chance.
Yeah, exactly.
No chance.
10 years. That has
Another 10 months would be.
Yeah.
That's the face.
God, she's horrendous. It really
That I'm
is. I
referring
mean,
to.
Dave, I think we're looking at like max 4, and I think it's risky to book it at 4.
Months or weeks?
Well, years, but
Years, no, not a chance.
I mean, it's possible that he's also awful.
he could be.
Because,
And
you know-
here's the other thing we never talk about with her social media.
I mean, that
He-
says
he's-
a lot.
He's got to be feeding her. He's got to be feeding her a lot of the material because
Yeah.
she keeps doing it. So
Yeah.
he can be a giant pain in the ass too.
It's still not the best. Still the best between a quarterback and a woman that he was with at the time was Russell Wilson's ex getting excited because he got drafted in the NFL and then he dropped her. The picture of her the day he got drafted is so good. I gotta find this.
It could be somebody that's in the room too. I'm not sure, but I got a DM during the Pro Bowl week. There was like a tip that said, "Oh, by the way, Patrick Mahomes got a limo from Aria to the golf course today and didn't tip." And I was like, "Well, there's nothing I can really do with this."
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
great.
Dave better not find out about that one.
Yeah.
Oh my God, who is that? That was his girlfriend.
Yeah, that's the day he got drafted.
I mean, it might be a bad picture.
Oh, it's a terrible picture, but I'm just like, I'd be like that. I'd be like, we got it.
I'm sure she was like, I'm cashing in.
And he's like,
I'm all set for life.
he's like, slow down.
slow down.
Grab
Nothing's
ball.
official yet. Which again brings us to Stephon Diggs.
Yes, it does.
I suppose doing what again, this is what Dave would do if he had the opportunity, and Dave may have done this on Valentine's Day. What exactly happened with 2 women at the same hotel?
So apparently it started off in Vegas at the Pro Bowl, which I think is awesome. And then he made his way to Miami. Apparently, Stephon Diggs had a great Valentine's Day where he brought his girlfriend to a hotel in Miami to spend Valentine's Day there. He also brought his other girlfriend to the same hotel in Miami to spend Valentine's Day there in 2 different rooms, and then just went back and forth from room to room, which is referred to in some circles as the Koken. So there's something David.
No, I never did that.
I love that Dave shook his head. Dave's like, no, never.
But so
You could have, Dave. Come on.
this story.
Hey, okay. Well, I'd admit to anything now because Vancouver just won the game.
There you go. Good
But,
one.
No, I never did that.
No.
But yeah, Valentine's Day was never a big deal to me anyway. I really like the fact that most of the girls that I've been with over the years, I basically felt the same way about Valentine's Day. It was like, who fucking cares?
Sure.
Now, you missed their birthday. That's another story.
Right.
That's
So-
a big one. Okay, that's
Agreed.
a big one. But Valentine's Day, it's like everybody does that.
So the Stephon Diggs story was blowing up on Twitter today. I mean, everybody's having a field day with it. It was great, but I like to go back in the archives a little bit, and I saw somebody post this on Twitter today too, which was fantastic. It's from a couple years ago. Stephon Diggs is on the Vikings, and somebody behind the scenes, I think they work with the Vikings. There might even be a player that's going around. And he's doing one of those, like, behind the scenes stories.
Your sister.
And he basically goes and asks a bunch of the players, who on the team would you be most upset was dating your sister? And apparently the Vikings knew this might have been Stephon Diggs' thing.
Like to date your sister.
I'm gonna punch it up here in a second. I'm trying.
Okay. That is definitely the start. That's definitely the audio from it.
I'd have to say that the players probably had a pretty good idea what was going on.
Yes. I mean, a question like this for everyone to have a consensus.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good indication.
The one
Here
pro
we go.
tip. Okay, well, I'll wait.
Decided to date my sister Diggs. 100%.
Oh, Stephon Diggs. He's crazy.
What the hell? Diggs. Why Diggs? No. We're going to leave it like that. No.
He couldn't date my sister.
You're starting to be the runaway favorite for this.
Well, nobody want me to date this. I'm a great guy. I'm actually a great guy.
There's actually seems to be a few guys that don't think
I
that.
feel differently about me.
Yeah.
They just don't know me well enough. That's what it is. Just a beer. All right, who knows I want to date my sister? Weatherly.
Why Weatherly?
Because he's ugly. That was the problem.
He's hot. He's hot. Get the camera on him. He's hot. He is hot.
I mean, there's a general consensus there that he
Yeah.
might not be the most trustworthy guy.
That's funny.
I'm kind of amazed that was a team production.
I
The
know.
Vikings mic shielded everything.
Right.
There's somebody like that in every team. I was around one
course.
pro team on a regular basis growing up, which is the American Hockey League franchise in Providence. And there would always be one guy on the team who's like, oh, yeah, he'll screw anything. He'll fuck mud. I mean, it didn't matter whether it was good looking, ugly, fat, skinny. He just had to have different action every night. And everybody knew who it was. And there's one on every team, I guess.
All right. Well, that's a good story for Cofield and Company tomorrow. We'll definitely hit that one. We have to go back on Valentine's Day too. There's a bunch of good.
Should we do who's the guy on the Raiders?
Do you have any idea?
Maybe. Might be gone though. might have been cut mid season.
Good story.
Cut for reasons that he couldn't play, or
Cut for reasons that he killed someone.
No.
Because from what I do understand, at least on that count, he was with the same girl all the time. So
Yeah. No, I was thinking Arnett, not Ruggs.
all right, yeah. I wouldn't want Arnett dating anybody in my family because he's crazy.
Yeah, it's fair.
He's nuts. That guy's scary nuts.
Yeah. Dave, what do you got? What do you have coming up this weekend with Wager Talk? Anymore? You have videos tomorrow?
No
No.
videos tomorrow. I think I've got one basketball game. I haven't done the hockey yet, which I'd be better off just staying with the hockey the way the basketball's gone this week. And we'll see what happens over the weekend. Just, one day at a time.
John, you got Friday and then Sunday?
Friday, and then I'm pulling an extra shift Sunday morning, 5 to 7 a.m. And then, something's coming down the pike that I can.
Oh, I do have
And that's
something
later.
else going on.
Yeah, what else, Dave?
I'll be crossing my fingers, toes, and eyes that Joaquin Neiman continues to do
Yeah.
what he did today at Riviera, because I've got a bet on Neiman at a very nice price. And, boy, he was great today. I could use that one.
All right. John, you're not going to give us a hint? You can announce something next week?
No, I can't say anything.
All right, good deal.
Although it's
I'm
officially on the
excited.
schedule, but I can't say anything. So,
All right.
There's just going to be more of me. How about
Hey, Adam, I got to ask you, Adam, because you're
Good.
the Knights guy. What's the buzz on? Are they going to go after a goalie? Because Brossois not a starting goalie. He just isn't. Okay. Are they going to go after a goalie? And is it going to be Fleury? What are you hearing?
I mean, I feel like McCrimmon reaching out and being as open as he was yesterday about their not getting Fleury.
I wouldn't either. I mean,
Yeah,
not for nothing, but
so I mean, I also and I think we did this yesterday on with Steve, but I don't know which side would be more against it. Like, why would first of all, I think Fleury is a liar and a scumbag, but if you take Fleury at his word that the organization treated him as badly as they did, which they didn't, he's lying. But if you take him at his word, why would he want to come back? Why would he want to? They treated him so badly. They were so awful to him. Why would you want to come back? It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so let's take him out of the equation. They've got a terrific team.
Yeah.
They're weak in goal. They've got a backup goaltender who might be the starter the rest of the way, depending on how severe the Leonard injury is.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on how hurt Leonard is and how much faith they have in him. And obviously, I think that they'll probably make a move anyway, whether it's to get somebody to be a backup, or if Leonard is okay, or somebody that they need to take over as a starter. I think they'll make a move because I don't think they're going to allow this good of a team to go into the playoffs with such a question mark at goal. Like there's not a whole lot of maneuverability. There's not a whole lot of options that they have necessarily money wise. But I don't think they're going to just sit back and say, oh well, I guess we're not going to have a goalie. They're going to do something to improve their lot because they can't allow years to pass when you're so all in, a la the Rams. Like you have to go make something happen. And I think that they will be looking at doing that.
Okay. I hope you're right.
Yeah.
Good deal. All right. Adam's on Cofield and Company tomorrow. So we'll talk to you at 3:00. Dave, have a good weekend. I hope you win a bunch of games. Appreciate it.
Go Canucks.
Okay.
Everyone watching tonight. Yeah, God damn it. I should have jumped on what Dave said to jump on it. I got to listen to Koken. Jesus.
I
Idiot.
still haven't lost a game since the All-Star break in hockey.
Oh, my God.
I've lost my share in basketball.
Yeah.